Hey everyone, tonight we're opening a historical chapter seldom spoken of in textbooks, yet very much alive in candlelit corners and shadowy cloisters. Lust, sex, and sin in the Middle Ages. Before we begin, a warning. You probably wouldn't survive this era. Not due to excessive spiciness, well, perhaps that too, but because living then with a curious mind and even a slightly active libido meant high odds of ending in the stocks, whipped, burned, or all three, depending on the week. So before settling in, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely appreciate my content. Also, I'd love to know which city you're watching from and the current time there. Now dim the lights, perhaps switch on a fan for soft background noise, and let's ease into tonight's journey. Your pilgrimage starts not in a bustling medieval town or sultry tavern, but in a monastery. Unexpected for sin, right? The air smells of candle wax, damp stone, and faintly medicinal herbs. It's eerily quiet, the kind making every cough echo like thunder. Yet, even here, tucked behind thick walls and vows, desire flickers stubbornly. Monks in wool robes, hair shaved in a tonsure, supposedly renounced fleshly pleasures. Lust is the enemy, a prowling beast. Notice how Brother Thomas pointedly avoids Sister Agnes's gaze during Mass. His fingers twitch as she passes. She clutches her rosary excessively. You learn this isn't isolated. Medieval monasteries were battlegrounds of the body. Monks and nuns waged constant wars against their thoughts. Sex was the primal spiritual foe, unvanquished by fasting or cold baths. Confessionals overflowed with slippery accidents, dreams staining garments, and regrettable, private moments with saint statues. Strangely, monks kept awkwardly honest records. One 12th century abbot confessed the devil showed him visions of naked women in church during prayer. Did they tempt him? Absolutely. He once rammed his face into the cold floor to calm down, ineffectively. Some monasteries became infamous. An 11th century French double monastery saw its entire male and female communities discovered in literal elaborate entanglement. The church shut it down, branding it a disguised brothel. The irony? Monastic life was sold as the ultimate sin escape. Take vows, eat bland food, chant Latin, shave your head. Spoiler, it failed. Isolation worsened it. Zero distractions, long hours alone with thoughts, purity expectations like a guillotine, an erotic pressure cooker. Women weren't exempt. Nuns wrote of their struggles, sometimes coded. A 14th century nun described nightmares of seduction by black beasts with burning breath, classic incubus imagery, penning prayers begging God to harden her soul against temptation. Historians debate, were these supernatural accounts metaphors for unprocessable desire? Calling it a demon was safer than admitting, I'm horny and I hate it. Now a detour. Some monks practiced dream yoga, medieval Catholic guilt edition, to avoid lustful sleep imagery. Monk Hinrich claimed he recited psalms in dreams to drown seductive thoughts. Truth? Uncertain. The attempt reveals desperation. Then, the elephant, actual affairs. Despite rules, secret relationships occurred. Smuggled letters, nighttime visits, tunnels, some were discovered with children. Pregnant nuns were quietly sent away, children abandoned or miraculously adopted. Officially, devilish trickery. Sure, not all were tragic. Some suppressed desires. Saints allegedly never had sexual thoughts or achieved purity. But the debate? Did they, or were they expert at hiding or redefining purity? Your monastery stay leaves dual feelings: awe at their struggle's intensity, sympathy for people told thinking about sex meant damnation. A tough burden, people remain people, even in 1142. You leave as Vespers chants rise like smoke. Outside, a low moon, a nightbird calls. You head deeper where holiness and horniness blur. Next, saints with eyebrow-raising visions. Not far from the monastery, another tale unfolds, drenched in incense, mystery, candlelight, sweaty hallucinations. Saints, holy paragons, weren't immune to lust. Digging deeper, many spent years in deeply personal, occasionally erotic showdowns with the devil, or God. You become a medieval believer, skeptical yet spellbound, poring over saints' lives. Vitae. These weren't dry morals, they had plot twists, seductions, naked apparitions, torment, spiritual ecstasy confusingly close to orgasm. Take St. Anthony the Great. He fled to the desert to escape temptation, but got more. Biographers say demons sent visions of shimmering women throwing themselves at him. He dove into a thorn bush to stop impure thoughts, literally. Dedication undeniable. Female saints get weirder. St. Catherine of Siena took a virginity vow at 7, as an adult, she claimed spiritual marriage to Christ. receiving a ring supposedly from Jesus' foreskin. Yes, medieval hagiography lacked chill. Saint Teresa of Avila, slightly post-medieval but reflecting centuries of tradition, wrote of an angel piercing her heart with a flaming spear, causing writhing pain-joy that consumed her. Sounds like divine BDSM? Scholars debate purely spiritual visions or channeling suppressed desire into metaphysical language. Out-of-body orgasms called divine ecstasies. These accounts weren't fringe, they were popular, widely read, instructional. The lesson: spiritual perfection meant confronting lust head-on, defeating it via surreal, occasionally sexy torments. The twist? Saints sometimes enjoyed visions. The tone shifted from horror to awe. Saint Lutgard, 13th century, claimed Christ kissed her romantically on the mouth, caressed her heart, flooding her with warmth and divine music. Symbolic? Maybe. Also likely the only acceptable framework for a woman to describe intense pleasure. Debate rages, transcending flesh or finding loopholes. Historians suggest holy visions were often women's sole safe container for expressing desire, intimacy, pleasure. A spiritual drag show using sanctioned roles to voice the unsayable. Stranger still, visions mirrored erotic tropes: swooning, breathlessness, helplessness. Religious ecstasy language bled into erotic poetry. After hours reading saintly accounts, you confuse them with romance tales. One nun's dream of divine light envelopment, next describing sweetness beyond earthly touch. Vivid imaginations, few outlets. The church walked a tightrope. Mystical experiences signaled divine favor, but overly spicy visions risked heresy, madness, or demonic possession accusations. Mystics, especially women, trod dangerously. Too pious, living saint. Too sensual, trial. You duck into a chapel, inside a mural of St. Margaret holding a dragon's tail, not entirely innocent. Everything this era held double meanings. Saints, poets, bishops played this coded game. Not all saints escaped unscathed. St. Christina the Astonishing, fitting name, reportedly levitated, threw herself into furnaces, dove into icy rivers to resist temptation. Her biography reads like a medieval fever dream. Historians suggest epilepsy or neurological conditions. Others see her wrestling body-soul contradictions. You exit as a bell tolls, time and ritual, tightly wrapped desire. These weren't just faith stories. They were survival guides, cautionary tales, wish fulfillment, and slightly erotic fanfic for those blushing at the Canterbury Tales. Saints feel less flawless, more like exhausted humans grappling with overwhelming impulses, strangely comforting. Even the divine couldn't escape desire, they wrestled it poetically. Speaking of poetic wrestling, next, courts of love. Knights pining, ladies plotting, nobility undercutting songs. You arrive at a sprawling castle at sunset, stones glowing romantically. Inside, a feast, roasted meats, spiced wine, fruits, lute plucks, droning, aching poetry. Welcome to courtly love. Desire celebrated, flirtation and art, yet seemingly no one gets laid. Observe, a knight kneels before a noblewoman, and smoldering eyes, trembling voice vowing eternal loyalty. He praises her eyes, grace, swan-like walk. She accepts with calculated disinterest, a raised brow, ambiguous smile. Tokens exchanged, glove, scarf, lock of hair. But proximity to her chambers, forget it. Courtly love, refined, tortured, likely invented by emotional masochists. Not fulfillment, longing, the ideal, love unconsummated equals purity. Medieval edging. Troubadours, Troubert specialized, singing of unattainable women, agony of untouchable love. Chrétien de Troyes gave us Lancelot Guinevere, true love perpetually out of reach or secret due to existing vows. Fiction shaped real behavior. Ladies flirted to inspire devotion without losing control. Knights performed absurd feats, jousting, beast-slaying, sonnet writing for a smile or word. The real reward? The performance. Wanting nobler than having. The kicker? Beneath the surface, flowery declarations often covered real affairs. Political marriages were norms. Love found elsewhere. Watch couples drop masks alone. Longing becomes touching. Poetry whispers. Restraint excuses sneaking behind tapestries. Eleanor of Aquitaine hosted courts of love salons. Ladies debating romantic rules like medieval Bachelor episodes. Should a man pursue a married woman? Encourage jealousy? Test loyalty? Polite philosophy masking participants' own affairs with those very knights. Courtly love had strict rules. Big one, non-physical equals non-sinful. The church distrusted it, too secular, earthly desire over divine love. But condemning soul admiration with lovely metaphors proved hard. Lines blurred constantly. A nobleman cut himself with a dagger to prove devotion to a refusing lady. Moved, she agreed to a secret meeting. Result? They talked. She gave him her heart, he promised service until death. Everyone disappointed, yet these relationships held weight. A flirtation could destroy reputations, ruin marriages, spark wars, jealous kings, clever queens, knights switching sides. A look, rumor, scandal. A lady mutters, "It's not love that's dangerous, it's the politics." Correct. Fringe theory. Courtly love was a literary smokescreen for real power plays. Noble women in arranged marriages used it to assert influence, choosing who to favor, tease, shame. That glove? A chess move. Sex, historians argue, sublimated desire into acceptable theater versus line hidden sex behind thick metaphors. Medieval texts rarely stated directly. He took shelter in her garden meant, watching an elaborate masquerade, everyone pretending above flesh while negotiating access. Lust wears longing's mask, choreographed, constrained, burning through silk and lace. Step outside, night cool with rose petals and wine. A poet recites to a half-interested duchess. Time to see peasants live. No privacy, power, or poems. Leave nobles glitter behind. Velvet, lute music, flirtation vanish. Air thickens, damp earth, wood smoke, livestock. A northern European village, cramped timber thatch houses, zero personal space or privacy. Yet people fall in love, lust, tangle on chilly nights, sans silk sheets or coded poetry. Peek into a cottage, single room, one bed, two if lucky, parents, kids, maybe a goat sleeping feet apart. Resourcefulness, bundling or bed courtship. Young couples, teens lie clothed in bed to talk, bond, test compatibility. Wooden plank sackcloth between them, but still progressive. Idea, no sex, just hanging out supervised. Reality, curious teens hay, premarital negotiation. Pregnancy, community expected marriage. Shotgun weddings common, acceptance that bundling bags were symbolic. Communal society, community witnesses, judges romance. Gossip, family oversight, public reputation crucial. Ritual, village women inspected wedding night sheets for blood. No stain, rumors flew. Clever brides pre-stained. Peasant sex, practical, sometimes tender, hurried. Couples steal moments behind haystacks, forests, birdsong, rustling leaves, thin cover. Caught, punishment often lighter, fine, public penance. Desire didn't wait for church blessings, rules existed. Adultery with higher status, exile, flogging, worse. Lower classes, often community handled. Charivari custom, man marrying much younger woman / suspected infidelity paraded on donkey, pots banged, insults yelled. Half punishment, half performance, petty vengeance as moral outrage. Humor too, earthy acceptance. A gap-toothed midwife, Lord keeps sermons, babies come when they want. Attended births, married, unmarried, unscandalized. Jokes about noblemen's blessings in village cradles. Yes, noblemen exploiting peasant girls, mixed status children absorbed, village, or cast out. Marriage not always grand, handshake before witnesses, verbal agreement to share work, food / bed. Church wanted priests, but local custom ruled. Cohabitation plus community acceptance equals marriage. Flexible until not. Women on margins. Woods women disappearing into forest to avoid pregnancy shame, folk magic for fertility control, secret herbs, moon-bringing teas, skirt charms. Practical, superstitious, revealing women's struggle for agency. Quirky fact, couples carved love runes into tree bark, romance plus spiritual insurance policy. Priest unaffordable, tree blessed naturally. Past such a tree, hearts carved, initials fadings have generations of secrets absorbed. Historians debate premarital sex commonness among peasants. Church records show fines, punishments, others argue only scandalous cases recorded. Paper rules, field reality. Desire finds cracks, grows in shadows, shapes lives honestly, perhaps more humanely than noble poetry. Leave village, boots muddy, minds swirling, hearths, whispers, barn door kisses. Peasants lacked silks, ballads, but had passion, risk, tenderness carved on trees. Next, back to cloisters, women running the show, nuns with ink-stained fingers, spicy secrets. Creak through a convent gate, expect angelic chants, incense, get vinegar tang, roasted onions from gardens, air clean, thick with unspoken stories. Nuns glide, habits flapping, eyes lowered, hands folded. Behind serenity, a pulse, vibrant humanity beneath linen Latin, supposed sanctuary from sin temptation, women devoted to God. Surface, prayers, chants, silence, meticulously copied manuscripts, but more women thinking, feeling, dreaming, fantasizing. Kept records. Convent library, old parchment, beeswax. An older sister unlocks a cabinet, nuns' private writings, diaries of yearning, shame, visions, desire, scribbled between prayers. Some spiritual unexpectedly. One entry, dream of Virgin Mary cradling her with overwhelming bliss wave tenderness. Another, kissed repeatedly by an angel, waking gasping, blessed or damned, uncertain which desired. One nun writes of a sister's golden hair like summer wheat, her hands gentle weight during prayer, longing, intimate, mournful, undeniable undertones, not isolated. Across Europe, letters, poems between women, coded, shockingly direct. German nun, hunger for Sister Clara's body warmth. French nun sought mercy for dreaming carnal joy while bed sharing in winter. Wait, bed sharing? Yes. Communal dormitories, multiple nuns per straw mattress in cold. Practical, economical, unexpectedly inviting intimacy. Rules forbade physical affection, enforcement inconsistent. No cameras, DNA, dim candlelight, heavy robes, human need. Not all hidden. Abbesses kept honest misbehavior records. None caught with visiting monk under a staircase. Another with butcher's daughter smuggled as laundry assistant. Seclusion, extra prayers, stern talk. Scandals buried if noble families involved. Love tokens, small crosses, carved charms, notes in rosary pouches. One buried a letter under a cherry tree to the one whose voice haunts me in sleep. Unsigned, convent new. Not always sex forbidden love. Intellectual powerhouses starved for stimulation. Read Augustine, Plato, Roman poets if possible. Debated theology, translated texts, wrote mystical reflections resembling erotic piety poetry. One visionary, soul pierced by divine flame, opened like a flower to light, metaphorical foreplay. Fringe fact, Hildegard of Bingen, 12th century abbess, wrote a woman's soul could become pregnant with divine inspiration, interpreted as spiritual queerness. Intense, possibly romantic bond with nun. Richardus, heartbroken letters when Richardus transferred. Grief equals Latin breakup album. Debate, relationships romantic, platonic, emotional coping? Did nuns understand desire as we frame sexuality? No single answer. Women lived complex emotional lives, passive celibate angels. Many didn't choose convent freely. Families sent daughters for finance politics, not beautiful enough, too many sisters ahead. Some embraced it, others didn't. Diary. I do not love my vows, but I obey them. Harder than any sermon. Rebels, nuns sneaking out, visiting taverns, taking lovers. 14th century Italy. Nuns hosting masked cloister dances with musicians. Found, wine, laughter, no guilt. Reprimanded, not expelled, some related to bishops. Walk cloisters, moonlight through arches, hymn echoes. Hauntingly beautiful, layered with truth. Women imagined as virtue blank slates were full of longing, conflict, imagination, secrets. Perhaps more so, tucked away with candlelight in each other. Next, slide into a confession booth, incense-thick air, whispered sin. Priest, possibly more temptation familiar than expected. Step into a shadowed stone church, stained glass colors pews, ancient incense clings. Altar gleams but focus, darker corner, confessional booth. Odd wooden closet, secrets ingrained. Slip inside, curtain closed, breathe musty air shared by generations of sinners. Priest clears throat. Theory, sacred space, soul-cleansing channel, bearing shame before God. Practice, complicated. Man behind screen, human, curious, questionably restrained. Confessions brutally explicit. People ask priests, did this act with spouse, neighbor, minstrel count as sin? Here one, young man trembling, whispered letting girl touch shameful member bathing. Priest probes, spiritual guidance or personal research? Not surprising. Priests, often village's most educated, not lust immune. More temptation access. Parish priests supposed celibate. Church law since 12th century, but enforcement patchy. Rural areas lacked watchful bishops. Local priests took mistress. Community mostly ignored it, unless too bold. Father Gerard heard certain women's confessions privately, suspiciously long. Widow confessed weekly post-dusk, rectory candlelight seen past midnight. Bishop investigated. Gerard reassigned North Monastery. No trial, no punishment, new location, new souls. Well-meaning priests behaved strangely. Brother Luca kept ledger tallying parishioners' flesh sin confessions, not names, nature frequency. Bizarre data. Monday's higher self-pollution confessions. Married women reported impure dreams more than maids. Spiritual census or obsession? Unclear. Odd fact, specific penances for sexual sins. Not just prayers, walk barefoot to chapel, reciting psalms, fast 40 days sleeping on stones. Outrageous, man admitting bestiality, told to carry oversized candle through town during mass. Public shame intended, deterrent effectiveness questionable. Priests confess to each other, superiors. Records, priests sleeping with nuns, widows, housekeepers, some remorseful, others justified. She was lonely, thought married in God's eyes, flesh stronger than soul, regret little. Not all libertines, many wrestled desires, confessed thoughts anguished. Still suspected, too handsome, gentle, friendly with women, accusations regardless. Sex sin tangled. warm smile, potential scandal. Female confessors existed, certain orders. Contrast, stricter, more clinical, less scandalized. Women preferred confessing bodily sins to women. Imagine telling red-faced priest sensual dream about Saint Sebastian versus someone who'd had similar. Confession often control, forgiveness. Church gained power, hoarding secrets, knew who slept where, loved whom, wanted what. Used to maintain moral order, exert influence. Noble confessing adultery advised to donate chapel. Baker frequenting brothel lost market stall. Guilt, currency. Debate, confessional spiritual healing or psychological surveillance tool. Institutional control, keeping people obsessed with moral failings, or relief outlet? Likely both. Therapy session, trap, relief, risk. Leave booth, wood creaking, sun dipping low, bells toll warning. Heard sins whispered into dark, not all hidden. Became gossip, scandal-shaped communities. Sins, story, confession awaiting telling. Burden begging transfer. Next, town square, private pleasure becomes public spectacle. Square buzzing, low hum before storm, shaming. Push through villagers, merchants, basket-bearing old women, eyes locked on central wooden platforms, stocks dusted, oiled, barrel of rotten vegetables. Medieval justice, sin haunts soul and gets public performance. Today's star, 30s woman, wild hair, flushed fury. Accused adultery, details vague. Absent man, always. She faces afternoon in stocks, ankles, wrists locked, town judging, jeering, throwing. Feel it, theater, not justice. Town out to punish and enjoy sin. Children laugh, winding up squishy turnips. Drunk cobbler yells loose women nearly falls in pig trough. Cruelty beneath, crowd loves watching falls, especially women daring to want forbidden things. Public punishment common, adultery, fornication, bawdy speech, pillory, worse. Fine, public whipping, exile, shaved head, flesh brand, varied by region, status, gender. Message, lust dangerous, act equals pay price. Married women bore brunt, wife strayings, betrayal of husband's social order. Man, often got away, woman seduced me. Double standard, men with prostitutes fined, women labeled prostitutes whipped, branded, humiliated clothing, striped hoods, scarlet letters. Punishments not just sex, man publicly humiliated for cross-dressing secretly, wearing wife's dress, cleaning, dancing alone. No sex, victim. Dragged to square, forced wear women's clothes, pelted with sheep dung. Enforcing rules, stay in lane, be what body dictates. Bawd running unofficial brothel from cellar, paraded in cart holding mother of horses sign. Church loved such punishment. Shamed and warned. Neighbors, friends, clients watched silently, faces blank, no one next. Not all big sins. Too loud flirting, bold innuendo, punished. Norwich woman pilloried for calling merchant's apprentice ripe fruit in market. Crime. Doing it before wrong priest's wife. Flirtation, transgression line thin, depended on listener. Quirky detail, medieval France, couples fighting infidelity, forced kiss makeup publicly. Led to market square, sometimes chained, kneel, confess faults, kiss. Refusal equals heavier penalties. Romance, medieval edition, garlic breath, town watching. Debate, public punishment deters sin or pressure valve. Reinforce norms, shame nonconformers. Ritualistic, theatrical, unifying via shared booing. Or power reminder, rule makers versus breakers. Square, woman in stocks quiet now, eyes distant. Vegetables stopped, crowd loses interest, flute plays. Moment passed. Tomorrow, another drunk, thief, misplaced lover. Step away, boots crunch cabbage leaves, broken shame. Sun low, long shadows. Pleasure flips easily to punishment here. Craved things become weapons, yet craving persists. Next, darker territory, lust demonized. Woman stands trial for infernal consorting. Crucifix handy? Arrive village edge, torches lit, jagged shadows on timber houses. Air heavy, damp earth, wood smoke, sharper undercurrent, fear. Thickens near church, crowd gathered not for prayer, for trial. Accusations burn hotter than facts, demons named. Woman accused of lying with devil, Isabeau. 30s, widowed herbalist mother. Attractive, self-sufficient, knows plants bringing blood, stilling husbands. Now equals witch. Squeeze through crowd, hands bound, dress torn, eyes furious. More than herbs, gossip, accused demon sex, crowd ready belief. Puffed up priest reads charges, theatrical waiver, consorted demon in man's likeness, allowed unholy body entry, cried pleasure, not pain. Crowd shifts, murmurs, crosses selves, looks overly curious, lean in, knowing these stories. Isabeau questioned not just soul, details demanded. Demons look, claws, hooves, tongues, sweet nothings, notary writes it all. Wild, demon sex accounts detailed. Inquisition records, women describe night creatures, handsome, monstrous, lovers, rapists, seduced softly, forced like sickness. Church script ready, incubi, male demons tempted women, stole seed, bred evil. explains sleep paralysis, sexual desire, damp sheets. Isabeau defiant, trembling, devil came as dead husband, dreamed touching, kissing beside her, felt real, wanted real. Crowd shifts, sympathy horror, admitted enjoying it, most dangerous. Irony spoon thick, church railing against desire while believing demons seduce constantly, especially women at night, aligning with suppressed fantasies. Tragic, darkly hilarious. Inspection. Midwife searches Isabeau for witch's mark, mole, blemish/skin patch insensible to pain. Stripped under torchlight, strangers examine proof demon suckled, invasive, humiliating, deadly serious. Find something? Game over. They find freckle on inner thigh, priest devil's kiss, accusation weight impossible. Debate, did women believe demon sex? Vivid dreams filtered through religious fear, stories invented under torture, confessions shaped by interrogators, women saying what stopped pain aligned expectations. Historians, erotic dreams misunderstood by dreamer society, church projecting sexual panic to police female autonomy, many witches, healers, widows, midwives, herbalists, living alone, knowing too much, disobeying. Real crime, not fitting mold, lust easiest accusation, salacious, attention-grabbing, unprovable, disprovable. Enjoying it? More dangerous, woman liking sex equals halfway to hell. Chilling judicial report detail, women ask describe demon seed inside them. Assumption, ice cold equals infernal proof, warm hesitation, lying. Church, employing imagined semen heat as an instrument of condemnation. Uncertainty grips you, laughter or screams. Torchlight dances over the square as judgment falls. Guilty. Isab is condemned to public contrition and whipping. Barefoot, clad in a chemise, clutching a candle exceeding her stature, she'll be paraded through town. Survival of that disgrace might permit a return home, or she could vanish like countless others, consumed by quiet, unrecorded flames. You retreat as the throng scatters, stunned and talkative, already amplifying the tale for tomorrow's chatter. Whispers circulate. Isizabo took nocturnal flight. Others allege she birthed a toad. Here, the boundary between sex and sorcery is knife-edge thin and lethally sharp. Subsequently, you'll scrutinize objects crafted to halt sin preemptively, mechanisms of virtue, dominion, and perhaps a hint of kink. Indeed, discussion of chastity belts beckons. You stand in a compact fortress rear chamber. Stone walls damp, ceiling low enough to necessitate stooping. On a wooden table rests your object of fascination, gleaming under a solitary sunbeam like a celestial jest. A chastity belt. Iron, leather-lined, chilling to the touch. Its front plate encases everything with a cruel elegance, punctured with apertures allegedly for sanitation, secured at the hips by a key rivaling a kid goat's size. Welcome to the uncomfortable convergence of lust, dread, and medieval ingenuity. The chastity belt myth exerts potent force. You've likely heard myriad versions. Noble knights securing wives before crusades, women sealed into metallic undergarments for purity preservation, keys suspended around husbands' necks like perverse wedding bands. It possesses every element of a grim fairy tale. Yet closer inspection reveals peculiarities. This belt feels excessively decorative, overly immaculate, seemingly designed for display, not wear. That's the initial hint that reality isn't straightforward. Historians still dispute whether chastity belts saw widespread use or any use at all. True museums exhibit them, and occasional Renaissance sketches depict women bound in these shameful torture panties. But the earliest extant physical belts largely date from the 15th century onward, some appearing suspiciously like 19th century counterfeits aimed more at titillation than terror. Correct. Certain medieval chastity belts might be history's equivalent of cosplay gear for Victorian gentlemen possessing very particular preferences. Nevertheless, the concept possessed roots. The church fixated on regulating female sexuality. Chastity functioned as virtual currency. Virginity transcended morality. It was a marital bargaining chip, a familial honor emblem, a theological ideal. Thus, the notion of literally locking it down aligned seamlessly with the overarching culture of control. Irrespective of women actually traversing in iron undergarments, the menace, the metaphor, the fixation, these were profoundly tangible. Paging through aged manuscripts, you uncover references, none particularly complimentary. An Italian text details a jealous merchant commissioning a belt from a smith to safeguard his young wife's virtue. Another chronicles a paranoid noble demanding his daughters be secured whenever leaving the estate. None specify duration of wear, bathing procedures, or infection management. You suspect such details were conveniently omitted or wholly fabricated. Yet stranger facts exist. Some belts aim not merely to obstruct intercourse, but to preclude pleasure. One model boasts internal spikes resembling an inverted hedgehog. Another incorporates a mechanism rendering normal ambulation nearly impossible. Certain researchers propose these were punitive devices, not prophylactic ones, employed to discipline rebellious women or sex workers within exceptionally harsh city-states. Whether these were isolated incidents or indicative of broader practice remains fiercely contested. And it wasn't solely women. You encounter a sketch of a male chastity apparatus, an iron codpiece resembling a meat grinder. Evidently, some men endured these during penitential periods or were forced into them by wives exacting infidelity revenge. One bizarre, likely apocryphal tale tells of a young monk petitioning his abbot for locking to curb urges. Talk about devotion. Still, despite the tangible evidence or absence thereof, the chastity belt concept cast a long shadow over the medieval psyche. Poets penned verses about it. Preachers issued warnings. Satirists ridiculed it. One earthy French ballad recounts a woman duping the belt by bribing a locksmith, then engaging with 3 different suitors before matins. Another jest recounts a knight returning from the Holy Land to discover his wife not only pregnant, but wearing the belt while the key still hangs around his neck. The moral: where determination exists, a solution emerges. You unearth an eccentric 1500s Nuremberg record. A man attempting to vend a virtue device publicly. The council ordered him flogged, not for immorality, but deeming the entire concept fraudulent and ludicrous. Evidently, even then, skepticism existed regarding the practicality of confining someone in medieval Tupperware and anticipating favorable outcomes. Contemporary scholars frequently contend the chastity belt evolved into more symbol than reality, a metaphor for control, a propaganda implement, a caution. By the Renaissance, its image adorned paintings and pamphlets more as commentary on jealousy, power, and hypocrisy than documented practice. In this regard, it's kin to the scold's bridle or the shame flute, contraptions that perhaps existed but whose legends eclipse their application. And yet, grasping a replica, cool, weighty, impossibly uncomfortable, realization dawns. Authentic or not, it feels medieval, brutal, domineering, profoundly distrustful of the body. Thus, it integrates perfectly into the world you traverse, where sin is dreaded, penalized, perpetually skulking beneath virtue's surface. Whether anyone actually wore one might matter less than the universal belief that someone could. Departing the fortress, you traverse a courtyard where lovers once danced beneath banners and suspicion. Thoughts churn with iron and fire, the absurdity of imprisoning lust and pretending that suffices for its eradication. Now, you proceed towards a wedding, motivated by obligation, not affection. Guests exhibit keener interest in the bridal sheets than the couple. You arrive amidst the wedding feast, a whirlwind of roasted meat, cloying wine, onion-laced laughter, velvet-clad nobles guffawing excessively. Bride and groom sit beneath embroidered cloth, resembling strangers trapped in an excruciating team-building exercise. She's pallid, rigid, gazing downward as if seeking invisibility. He's 3 goblets deep, grinning at likely unfunny remarks. Love seems irrelevant here. They await the main spectacle, the bedding ceremony. Indeed, the moment pretense dissolves as the new couple is escorted, often publicly, to their marital bed. The crowd makes no subtlety. They chant songs, crack jests, compose crude rhymes about fruit and fauna. If this feels grotesquely invasive, it is. Yet in medieval Europe, this was customary. Marriage wasn't deemed valid until consummated. Sometimes proof wasn't merely anticipated, it was mandated. You follow the procession up narrow, candlelit stairs where the newlyweds are deposited in their chamber like livestock. Onlookers, nobles, clergy, servants, even the bride's aunt, encircle the bed as the couple is disrobed. Rules exist. No touching, merely observing, encouraging, teasing. Petals are tossed, a lute plays. It's surreal. The couple slips beneath the sheets. Curtains are half drawn because finality demands witness. One might assume such spectacle stifles mood, but that wasn't the objective. This ritual concerned legitimacy, not intimacy. Medieval marriages weren't romantic compacts. They were economic alliances, political maneuvers, strategies for land and title transfer. To render them binding, consummation evidence was essential. This brings you to the infamous bridal sheet inspection. Post-coitus, or claimed coitus, Linens were exhibited, often publicly, the blood verifying the bride's virginity. Crimson spots signified purity, honor, sound investment. Absence of stains? Problematic. Rumors ignited, dowries reclaimed, familial feuds erupted. One recorded instance, a groom annulled the marriage instantly, demanding his money back. The bride was 15. Her father sued for slander. The court adjudicated in favor of the bedsheet. Naturally, not every woman bled, and many knew it, prompting ingenuity. Whispered accounts exist, brides pricking fingers, slipping animal blood beneath sheets, bribing servants to attest to non-events. Allegedly, one merchant's daughter concealed a chicken blood vial within her corset. Virginity was such commodity that entire destinies pivoted on its semblance, not substance. The groom, his virginity was irrelevant. Often, experience was presumed. Men were advised to train pre-marriage, sometimes with prostitutes, ensuring performance when crucial. A Spanish physician's treatise cautioned young husbands against overexcitement and ungoverned haste, lest the bride remain dissatisfied and suspicious. Thus, while she arrived untouched, he arrived skilled. Equality was absent. You encounter a peculiar Central European tradition. The bride's mother remained in the chamber, not to observe, but to oversee decency. Seated corner-side, gaze politely averted, hands clasped, humming, as if that mitigated matters. Elsewhere, a priest blessed the bed, sprinkled holy water, offered instructions before departing. Be fruitful, he'd murmur. Remember Christ observes. Pressure indeed. Oddity of the night. In parts of medieval Scandinavia, unconsummated marriages within 3 days faced legal annulment, and verification occurred. One tale, a young noblewoman's husband proved too timid or disinterested. On day 4, the bishop dispatched an investigator. Spotless sheets and disappointed servants led to dissolution. The husband entered a monastery. The bride wed her cousin a week later. Even sans formal inspection, rumors endangered. A bride appearing excessively cheerful or sore invited gossip. Limping, whispers of premarital loss. Radiating excessively, perhaps excessive enjoyment, also suspicious. Regardless, obsession fixated on unshared bedroom minutiae. Debate persists how much constituted actual practice versus theatrical tradition. Some historians contend public bedding was chiefly noble, largely symbolic. Others insist it occurred in middle-class homes, neighbors peeking. One theory posits Renaissance authors exaggerated past stories for mockery. Regardless, the message resonated. Your body wasn't solely yours. It was property, proof, a legal pivot. As the chamber hushes and the crowd drifts wineward, you peek through the curtain. The bride lies motionless, eyes open. The groom snores. The sheet, folded bed end, already draws the nursemaid's scrutiny. Blood-stained or not, judgment looms regardless. You slip downstairs as music resumes, stomach uneasy. Not from food, but the pervasive lack of privacy. Not the vows, not the bed, not the love if it existed. Next, you duck into a church pew to hear priestly pronouncements. Spoiler, disapproval reigns. They possess a sermon poised to induce body regret. You slip into the church rear as the priest ascends the pulpit, robes swirling like morality play curtains. Pews overflow. Peasants, merchants, nobles packed for the Sunday homily. Air hangs thick with dust, incense, apprehension. The priest clears his throat, raises arms theatrically, commences. Lust. Again. Always. He opens with admonition. The body is temptation's vessel, he intones. Lust its captain, steering us toward damnation. You settle, half curious, half dreading. Spoiler. Subtlety is absent. The sermon advances like a war drum. Extramarital sex. Sin. Marital sex sans procreative intent. Sin. Sexual thoughts. Sin. Desirous glances. Double sin. You sense the village collectively clenching, suppressing last night's memories. The church, particularly later medieval, waged total war on bodily control, nowhere more fiercely than sexuality. Guides for confession and preaching prove more explicit than romance novels, categorizing sins by position, frequency, even mood. Did you enjoy it? Worse. Did mutual delight motivate it? Near Satanism. Official lists existed. A 13th century document enumerates over 30 unlawful positions with penalties. Some priests permitted only missionary. Others deemed even that suspect with excessive groaning. One preacher notoriously warned that tongue-kissing could summon demons. Scanning the church, you ponder procreation feasibility. The priest thunders, quoting Augustine, Christian guilt's progenitor, who maintained procreation alone justified sex, and even then one should feel remorse. According to him and medieval theologians, desire was the fall's byproduct. Adam and Eve ruined everything. Lust isn't love, it's proof of our fracture. Sexual enjoyment signifies sin inhabiting your flesh. No rosary scrubs that away. You glimpse a woman 2 rows ahead, seemingly stifling laughter or tears. Perhaps recalling last night, or like you, exhausted by contradiction. All must marry, bear children, populate Christendom, yet pretend sex is a cheerless, guilt-ridden duty never to be relished. It's baking cake sans batter tasting or smiling, yet the church didn't disregard sex, it obsessed. Monks penned treatises on nocturnal emissions perils, pollution, inferring spontaneous arousal meant the devil rifled through dreams. Theological debates ensued. Marital sex permissible Sundays, feast days, Lent? Answer, usually no, but perhaps, if absolutely necessary, followed by tears. One friar, Brother Peter, contended even affectionate married couples sinned if pleasure resulted from their fondness. He cautioned excessive marital joy softened the heart and enfeebled the soul. You speculate about his own bed, likely a plank and a sour disposition. Not all churchmen were complete killjoys. A few tacitly conceded desire was natural, even beneficial within marriage. Some theologians posited spousal affection was God's gift, fostering unity through adversity, but they were the minority. Most doubled down, lust equals sin. Your body is suspect. Your thoughts are graver. Self-touching? Unthinkable. Quirky fact, in certain regions, the church advised marital abstinence, 40 days pre-Easter, 30 pre-Christmas, 7 pre-communion, all feast days, numerous, plus menstruation, pregnancy, postpartum, fasting seasons. Average couples were allotted perhaps 5 to 10 guilt-ridden, anxiously performed nights yearly maximum. Sans enjoyment. Simultaneously, the same anti-lust preached church funded illuminated manuscripts depicting Adam and Eve blushing beneath fig leaves, demons groping sleeping monks, naked saints resisting temptation. Mixed messaging borders on comical if not damaging. Sex. Dangerous. Also, observe these near-encounter images. Debate simmers academically. Some argue medieval Christians internalized doctrine, living repressed, shame-filled lives. Others propose people merely nodded in church then resumed their intended actions. Confession records, court documents, desire-filled poetry abound. Perhaps people inhabited dual worlds, pious by day, passionate by night. Back in church, the priest concludes, voice softening, urging repentance. Guard your thoughts, he declares. They seed action. A single lustful glance can commence eternal damnation. Scanning the crowd, it's evident. No one is guiltless. That's the intent. Maintain shame, ensure return, confessing, donating, believing. You exit a side door as the choir commences, voices echoing solemnly off stone. Outside, sun is high. Streets smell of life. Onions, fresh bread, unwashed bodies, horses. You inhale deeply. The church shamed urges, yet here people kiss, love, sneak behind haystacks. Next, you'll trace forbidden glances into society's darker recesses, where same-sex love flickered quietly, persists behind, departing the sin-condemning square. You enter a realm of gentle defiance. Here, unnameable things endured. Same-sex love wasn't merely forbidden, it was declared impossible. Yet you tread streets where it persisted, stubborn as ivy in cracks. Passing a fountain, 2 young men sit, shoulders faintly touching. Conversation seems casual, yet their mutual gaze speaks intensely. A lingering look, a shy smile. Survival depended on invisibility, or visibility calibrated to evade notice. The church's stance was unambiguous. Homosexuality was sodomy, a sin ranking below only heresy and witchcraft. Penalties spanned public penance to mutilation, exile, execution. Yet the church failed clear definition. Was it desire? Action? Could same-sex individuals love without sinning? Ambiguity fostered contradiction and survival. Medieval legal records scatter with cases hinting at a concealed world. A monk caught penning impassioned letters to a brother. A nun transferred for excessive sisterly closeness. A magistrate fined for hosting improper private garden entertainments. One Florentine man faced court for embracing another in the manner of a lover. Records seldom reveal outcomes. Not every tale ended punitively. In cities like Venice, Florence, Paris, same-sex desire flourished beneath denial and euphemism. The term fraternitas, brotherhood, described intense male friendships. In convents, amicitia, spiritual friendship, denoted deep female bonds. Were these platonic? Perhaps. Perhaps not. They offered safe expression of I love you. A remarkable instance, John and William, 14th century Englishmen arrested for cohabiting as husband and husband. Shared property, bed, reputation. Authorities fined them, released them, largely ignored them. An exception yet revealing. Then poetry. So much hiding plainly. a Latin poem by a monk to his beloved, yearning too tender for non-romance. When I see you, my heart is restless. When you leave, my soul retreats into silence. Descriptions of mouth, hands, scent defy spiritual-only readings. In a convent, Sister Agnes wrote letters to Sister Beatrice, my mirror, my delight, the only place my soul finds rest. Ironically, a disapproving superior preserved them by copying into a dangerous attachments book. Quirky detail: 14th century France saw mock same-sex weddings, rings, vows, bride prices, held secretly during festivals where rules relaxed. Caught in flagrante condemnation as blasphemers ensued, but for one night, pretense reigned. Within the church, things weren't starkly binary. Some monastic orders tolerated profound same-sex bonds if expressed via letters or poetry, not acted upon. The Brothers of the Common Life encouraged male-student emotional intimacy as spiritual brotherhood. Cover for more? Possibly. Or carving closeness space sans instant sin labeling. Scholarly debate rages. Were these intense friendships romantic erotic or modern projection? Some historians assert medieval love categories differed. Emotional closeness appears romantic now. Others retort, read the poems, they were in love, lacking societal language, freedom. Surviving meant mastering ambiguity. Same-sex love didn't announce. It slipped between lines, lived in coded glances, cautious phrasing, shared spaces undecipherable to outsiders. A medieval queerness anticipating future resilience. Amidst fear and silence, beauty existed. Two men composing poems by candlelight, ink-stained fingers trembling. Two women walking convent gardens, hands brushing, voices low. Erased from history's spotlight, yet they existed, loved, sustained it. However fleetingly, secretly. Leaving quiet streets, you rejoin city bustle. Bells ring, a market opens, life amplifies. Yet you carry that stillness. Beneath sermons and sanctions, people reached for each other in darkness. Next, you enter legalized sin's world. Tax-paying brothels, courtesan royalty, city councils regulating desire like a utility. Following a scent, rosewater, sweat, incense, musk, you reach a marketplace-adjacent alley where laughter spills from windows, silk curtains flirt. Not a hidden vice den. Quite opposite, a red light district medieval style designed not to conceal lust, but manage it. Welcome to sanctioned sin, brothels legal, regulated, sometimes city subsidized. Not the lawless secret expected. Later medieval brothels were often clean, orderly, bureaucratically odd. Women wore specific attire, red hoods or belts, identifying profession. Buildings were licensed, inspected, sometimes municipally owned. Vienna, Paris, London councils taxed brothels, funding public works. Correct, medieval Europe paved roads with sex money. Wandering a southern French brothel courtyard, women lounge in embroidered robes, sip watered wine, exchange gossip. They spot you instantly. New face, curious, poor pretense of business. One, sharp-witted, auburn-haired, knowing smile, beckons, here for the tour or the sermon? She's likely addressed more priests than tourists. She's Evelyn, unofficial boss, madam. She negotiates taxes, screens clients, ensures payment and sustenance. No pimps, no thugs. A controlled indulgence system for public safety as much as pleasure. This wasn't merely tolerated, it was encouraged. The church's stance was disturbingly pragmatic. St. Augustine claimed, without prostitution, lust would wreak havoc. Better containment like a hearth contained fire. Brothels became pressure valves, unmarried men relieving temptation, sans corrupting good women. Florence even had a city-funded brothel, Casa delle Donne, where sex workers received meals, medical care, police protection in exchange for client behavior reports. Reality wasn't pristine. While some women found independence and community within the system, others entered via poverty, coercion, familial desperation. Girls as young as 12 entered as servants, trained into the profession. Some kidnapped, others sold by parents. Exiting wasn't easy, especially with debts, children, or nowhere to go. The line between sex work and slavery was often tissue-thin, sometimes non-existent. Evelyn, your sharp-eyed guide, states it unflinchingly. Some of us chose this, others didn't. Either way, it's work. Her tone is steady, resigned. Men seek pleasure. We sell it like bread and wine. Doesn't mean we're empty. Observing other women laughing, playing cards, one napping, you recognize her truth. They possess lives, stories, tempers, dreams. They are people surviving a system punishing and profiting from their bodies. Quirkiness. Some brothels abutted churches. One Parisian priest complained adjacent moaning disrupted evening mass. Another bishop blessed a reopened brothel, citing moral containment importance. Hypocrisy or medieval efficiency. Another quirky fact, London's Southwark Winchester geese employed early branding. Color-coded gowns by specialty and services advertised via symbols, peacock feather in window, boot on door. Imagine Yelp reviews circa 1387. Regulation didn't ensure protection. Authorities taxing brothels swiftly turned during moral panics. Plague outbreaks blamed prostitutes first. Expelled, publicly whipped for cleansing. Upper-class clients faced no consequences. Women bore all blame. One Avignon girl executed for spreading syphilis. Her most regular customer was a cardinal. Yet the system endured because useful. Brothels served political purposes, kept excess desire off streets, provided discreet outlets for soldiers, merchants, clergy, were visible, manageable. Taxed, scheduled lust mightn't overflow into respectable homes. Scholars debate medieval sex workers' agency. Some argue the brothel system was thoroughly exploitative, a control and shame machine. Others identify autonomy moments, women rising to power, running establishments, retiring wealthy. Records exist of former prostitutes becoming landowners, midwives, nuns. One Flemish woman sued a nobleman for breach of contract and won. Back in the brothel, Evelyn shrugs off retirement queries. Maybe open a bakery someday. Something sweet, quiet. But for now, she commands here. In a world seeking to own and silence women like her, that's significant. Leaving the district, music and laughter fade. Darkness falls, lamps ignite, life persists. Desire doesn't vanish labeled dangerous. Sometimes it acquires a price tag and time slot. Next, meet women refusing pricing, categorization silencing. Widows, rebels, mistresses, those demanding more than society allotted. The two women share home, bed, business. While never vocalizing their relationship, the answer resonates between words. They inhabit a liminal space where the village remains uncertain but dares not inquire. Joan smirks when mentioned. I dye silk, she states, not explain myself. In a world expecting marriage or convent, she chose self-sufficiency. Then, mistresses, often depicted as sinful distractions or scandalous court shadows. They were more complex. At a manor house garden smelling of lavender and clove, a well-dressed woman, Isolde, greets you. Longtime mistress to a wealthy baron. No secret, no shame. She possesses her own servants, chambers, a pearl necklace likely worth a peasant's farm. Isolde isn't scorned. She's an institution. His wife manages the estate, she remarks. I manage him. She laughs, but truth underlies it. Noble marriages were often political. Mistresses provided emotional intimacy, sensuality, companionship, elements sometimes absent from arranged unions. Some wielded genuine power. Agnès Sorel, mistress to France's Charles VII, influenced politics and court fashions, scandalizing churchmen with low-cut gowns setting European trends. A mistress could shape culture and policy from silk-draped chambers as effectively as a crowned queen. But mistresses navigated precariously. Power hinged on patrons' whims. Death, remarriage, disinterest could mean overnight expulsion. Richer than some, legally vulnerable. Many secured land or property gifts, anchoring futures before lovers moved on. Some succeeded, others vanished, unnamed. You also encounter women operating entirely outside formal systems, true rebels. Tilda, a healer dwelling in a woodland-edge hut. Not a witch, though labeled such. She grows herbs, treats wounds, understands the human body surpassing city physicians. She admits having lovers, male and female, but doesn't retain them. Too noisy, I prefer silence. Autonomy exacts cost, perpetual suspicion. Church dislikes knowledgeable women. Town men dislike unneeded women. Tilda shrugs. Let them talk. The medieval world thrived on gossip. Nothing provoked tongues faster than a woman defying her lane, a widow not remarrying, a weaver drinking tavern solo, a secret-keeping midwife. Such women faced accusations of sorcery, seduction, or more subtly, strangeness. Case records abound, women testifying not for crimes, but unbecoming behavior, sometimes swearing, other times walking alone post-dusk. One memorable Lübeck case, a woman wearing trousers beneath her dress, hauled before the council for masculine arrogance. Her defense, it's warmer, fined regardless. Fringe fact, in late medieval Germany, some women's guilds permitted single widowed women full membership and voting rights. One town's female-led brewing guild dominated the local beer market decades. They brewed, profited, enforced quality standards with delightful ferocity. One document dubs them hop sisters. If men complained, women hiked prices. These narratives challenge the stale trope of universally docile, silent, marriage-confined medieval women. Many were loud, resourceful, strategic. They navigated limiting systems, discovered cracks. Some climbed, some barged, others like Joan, Tilda, Marjorie sidestepped, forging new paths. Scholars debate their actual freedom. Some argue autonomy teetered precariously, easily revoked for overstepping. Others cite evidence of lasting influence. Women drafting wills, managing estates, writing letters, reshaping family fortunes. Tension permeates sources. Exceptions or proof rules weren't rigid. Departing Marjorie's cottage, streets glow in evening light. A girl passes carrying herbs. A merchant's wife commands a servant. Two elders gossip on a stoop about a neighbor smiling too readily. Life teems with contradictions. Medieval women were saints, sinners, wives, widows, mothers, witches, rulers, rebels, often concurrently. Next, your hands trace fabrics exceeding warmth, silks and furs seducing, concealing, revealing. When desire is deemed sinful, clothing enters the game. Your fingers glide over merchants' table-draped crimson velvet, smooth as transgression. Amidst market clamor, this cloth hums with silent suggestion. Medieval attire wasn't merely warmth or status, it was seduction, armor, manipulation, sometimes simultaneously. It whispered unspeakable things. When church preached modesty, creativity ensued. The merchant proffers imported Italian silk, lapis-dyed blue, breath-thin. It shimmers. For noble ladies, he claims, but clearly meant for minimal coverage. Upper classes employed gauze and silk strategically, necklines dipping just sufficiently, sleeves clinging to wrists, hems lifting excessively in motion. Skin remained perpetually hinted. Sumptuary laws, clothing restrictions, aimed to curb this. Church and authorities dictated attire. Commoners banned from velvet. Prostitutes assigned specific colors. Women forbidden pearls sans certain husbandly income. No one, not queens, to display excessive flesh. Naturally, all ignored or circumvented cleverly. A passing woman's gown hugs her hips overly closely, backlacing deliberately taut. Her head is veiled, modesty, but golden curls escape. Intentional. Hair itself was wildly erotic. Theologians penned treatises. St. Paul demanded coverage to prevent male temptation. Behind closed doors, hair was unbound, brushed, scented, displayed for lovers like a personal striptease. Shoes. Oh, the shoes. Late medieval men wore poulains, signaled wealth, hence sexual suspicion. Some regions' rumored points indicated another protrusion's size. Suppressing laughter proves difficult, the logic deliciously absurd. Women employed tricks, fitted bodices, side lacing, emphasizing waists, cloaks adjustable for revelation. Scent mattered. Garments infused with rose, lavender, frankincense signaled clean, wealthy, sometimes ready. No Chanel, yet effect identical. Smell, texture, color, each a code. Church panicked repeatedly. Sermons warned rich fabrics tempted men. Finely dressed women were devil's temptresses. One preacher claimed silk clung like Satan to a soul. Another declared fur-lined sleeves, velvet paths to hell. You ponder if he ever touched one. Quirky fact, medieval men wore codpieces, fabric pouches on hose fronts, initially protective, but by the 15th century, ambitious. Padded, stuffed, embroidered, shaped like animal heads, splayed like petals. One featured a minuscule dagger, perhaps overcompensation. Codpieces became such virility symbols that scholars still debate their purpose, sex, status, or both. A knight's well-fitted doublet and oversized codpiece proclaimed warrior, heir producer, possibly syphilis sufferer. Some held medicated cloths. Fantasy aside, courtly fashion became foreplay. Lovers exchanged tokens, glove, ribbon, sleeve. These weren't merely sentimental, they were invitations. An arm-worn ribbon signaled devotion. A dropped handkerchief sparked scandal. One love poem spends 10 lines describing stocking texture before mentioning the face. Clothing rendered the body simultaneously visible and concealed, a suggestion and denial game. Not all messages private. Clothing turned political. During the 100 Years' War, English women forbidden French styles aligning loyalty with morality. Wrong cut or fabric bordered treasonous, as if lace betrayed kingdoms. Staring at a tailor's green velvet gown, front-laced, slit sleeves puffing linen like clouds, you perceive sensuality sans vulgarity, expense sans ostentation. Visualizing a noblewoman wearing this at court, carefully not spilling wine, smiling just sufficiently at a rival's husband. She comprehends her actions. Here, fashion isn't frivolous, it's strategy, language. Yet rules burdened. Overly fine-dressed women risked vain labels. Soft fabric-clad men mocked as effeminate. Gender norms were stitched into attire. One London record, a man arrested for wearing a woman's cloak and acting coy, fined, paraded dung pelted in drag. Fabric wasn't the sole issue, maintaining societal placement was. Scholars debate, did these fashions liberate or constrain, permit desire expression via symbols, or merely encase lust in social expectation? Like much medieval life, the answer lies in tension. People craved beauty, desired desirability. When words failed, fabric spoke. Leaving the market, wind lifts your cloak edge. A passing man glances overly long, boldly. You ignore it, yet the message resonates. You participate now. Dressed or undressed, your body's narrative accompanies you. Next, you enter the dreamscape where demons assume lovers' forms, saints writhe in visions, lust is supernaturalized. Time to meet entities blamed for nocturnal occurrences. Night descends heavier here, darker than previous journey points. No longer in courtly gardens or bustling brothel alleys, you traverse a village smothered in silence. Shutters bolted, candles extinguished early, dogs hushed. Fear here isn't thieves or sickness, it's nocturnal visitors. You enter medieval demon territory where desire and dread intertwine in fevered dreams, succubi and incubi lurking beyond candlelight. A shepherd, triple-crossing himself, mutters first, "She said it came through the wall." Took her asleep. Looked like her husband, but eyes burning. The reference woman remains bedridden days, silent, staring. Priest declares devil-touched, midwife whispers visitation. Unspoken truth, she endured a dream so visceral it convulsed body and soul. Medieval logic dictated uninvited, inexplicable lust, especially dreaming or hypnagogic states, originated externally, not the self, a demon. Thus, incubi, male assaulting women, and succubi, female preying on men, were born, shape-shifting spirits invading vulnerable beds. Gender rules blurred, some demons indifferent, others form-shifting, some adopting lost/dead lovers' guises, infiltrating dreams with familiarity before taking. Flipping through the Malleus Maleficarum, 15th century witch-hunting manual, you find chapters on demonic lust. Authors, fanatical inquisitors, claim demons harvested semen from sleeping men, impregnating women. Seed stealing explained untraceable pregnancies, nocturnal emissions, even homosexual encounters, an infernal reproductive system. Scientific, utterly deranged. Fear was tangible. Dreams weren't private. Waking, flushed, panting, aroused, invited accusations of demonic invitation, even if asleep. Women faced double binds, admitting arousal endangered, denying it if suspected invited punishment. Convent nuns reported devil visions. Warm breath, flame-like fingers. Others saw beautiful men whispering Latin, kissing necks during psalms. You contemplate cloister loneliness, suppressed longing donning nightmare masks. Not all feared demons. Some tales resemble fan fiction. A Milan woman tried for claiming voluntary demon intercourse, appearing as a dark-haired knight. She detailed the encounter scandalously. Eyes, voice, smoke-like movement. Condemned as heretic, yet you suspect she found a perilous method to articulate desire. When society provides no safe wanting language, borrow the devil's. Church amplified horror. Preachers delivered terrifying sermons on lustful spirits stalking the careless. Masturbation summoned succubi, sexual dreams invited possession. Purposeless pleasure was damnation's gateway. Demonic lovers allegedly left claw marks, sapped vitality, induced heaviness, mental fog. One priest described a nun bleeding thighs, confessing nightly ravishment. He doesn't question illness or loneliness. He brands her hell-marked. Quirky twist. Some medical writers blame digestion, not demons. Truly. Certain texts, Islamic world origins, Latin translations, attributed nocturnal emissions and erotic dreams to stomach vapors ascending to the brain. Solution: better diet, fewer onions, laxatives, refreshingly mundane. Scholarly debate social meaning, were demon lovers repression metaphors,